My name is Aylin. I grew up in a quiet little town where everyone knows each other. I got married at 22. Like many young women, I carried soft dreams in my heart. Dreams of love, of gentle hands, of someone looking at me as if I truly mattered. But along with those dreams, I carried fear. People talk a lot about the first night after marriage. Some of my friends whispered that it would hurt. Others said it was magical. A few admitted they cried. A few laughed. Every story sounded different, and that made me even more unsure. I didn't know what my story would be. I only knew that I was afraid of the unknown. The wedding day itself felt endless. There were cameras flashing, relatives hugging, prayers being whispered, plates clinking, music playing. I smiled for every photo. I thanked everyone who congratulated us. But inside, I felt like a little girl stepping into a world too big for her. Leaving my parents' home was the hardest part. My mother's tears stayed in my mind even after we drove away. My chest felt heavy, yet I kept smiling because that's what brides are expected to do. When we arrived at my husband's house, his family welcomed me warmly. They were kind and joyful. Still, my hands felt cold and my lips were dry from nervousness. I tried to look calm, but inside, I was trembling. Later, when the guests slowly disappeared and the house grew quiet, someone guided me to our room. It was peaceful inside. The lights were soft. The bed was decorated with flower petals, and the air carried a sweet scent. I sat carefully at the edge of the bed, my eyes lowered. My heartbeat was loud in my ears. I noticed every small sound, the ticking clock, the wind brushing against the window, distant footsteps in the hallway. Then the door opened gently. I didn't raise my head, but I knew it was him, Kareem, my husband. We had just married, yet we were still strangers in many ways. He stepped inside and closed the door quietly. I felt my breath grow shallow. My shoulders stiffened. I sensed him walking closer. He sat beside me, but he left a respectful space between us. For a moment, neither of us spoke. Then, in a calm and steady voice, he said, "Aylin, I know tonight feels new and overwhelming. We don't have to rush anything. Can we just talk for a while?" There was no pressure in his tone, no demand. His voice felt warm, like being offered comfort on a cold evening. Slowly, I looked at him. He wasn't acting bold or confident. In fact, he seemed a little nervous too. That surprised me. I had always thought only brides felt shy on nights like this. He handed me a glass of water from the table. When our fingers brushed for a second, I felt a sudden warmth rise to my cheeks. It was such a small touch, yet it felt meaningful. "You look terrified," he said with a soft laugh. "I promise, I'm not that scary." His light joke made me smile, just slightly, but that tiny smile eased the tension between us. He began telling me simple, almost silly stories about the wedding. He admitted his shoes were too tight. He confessed he nearly stumbled while entering the hall. He even said he had paused outside the door before coming in because he felt nervous too. Hearing that changed something inside me. His honesty made my fears soften. After a quiet pause, he looked at me gently. "May I hold your hand?" I nodded. He took my hand carefully, as if it were fragile. His palm was warm, steady, reassuring. He didn't squeeze tightly. He simply held it, letting me feel that he was there. My heart began racing again, but this time, it wasn't because of fear. His thumb moved slowly across the back of my hand, a small, comforting motion. That simple gesture made me feel safe. noticed, valued. Then he said something I will never forget. Aylin, nothing has to happen tonight. I want you to feel secure with me. We have time, plenty of it. Suddenly, tears filled my eyes. I hadn't expected to cry. Maybe it was a release of all the tension I had carried for weeks. Maybe it was a relief of realizing I wasn't alone in my fear. Or maybe it was the comfort of being treated with patience instead of expectation. He gently brushed away my tears with his fingertips. It wasn't a touch filled with urgency. It was soft, protective. When he leaned forward and placed a gentle kiss on my forehead, I closed my eyes. It didn't feel like a moment from a movie. It felt sincere, quiet, and real. Let this be the beginning of something good, he whispered. No pressure, just understanding. And for the first time that night, I truly felt at peace. That quiet sense of peace stayed with me as we lay down side by side. He didn't pull me into him suddenly. He simply moved closer, slowly, giving me time to adjust. When his arm wrapped around me, it felt protective, not demanding. I rested my head against his chest and listened to the steady rhythm of his heartbeat. It was calm and strong. Somehow, that sound made everything inside me calm too. He kissed my hair softly, almost absent-mindedly, like someone caring for something precious. His fingers traced gentle lines along my arm, not to rush me, not to claim anything, just to reassure me that I was safe. When he leaned in and brushed his lips against mine, I didn't turn away, not because I felt obligated, but because I felt ready. The kiss was simple and shy, a little uncertain. Nothing like dramatic scenes in films, but it was honest. And that honesty made it beautiful. We didn't try to prove anything that night. We didn't measure our marriage by expectations or outside voices. Instead of chasing a perfect moment, we allowed ourselves to be human. Two people learning each other slowly. There were pauses, soft laughter, quiet breaths shared in the dark. No pressure, no fear. What I remember most isn't a single action. It's the feeling of being respected, the feeling that my comfort mattered, that my emotions were not ignored. When morning light began to slip through the curtains, I realized something important. Love doesn't begin with urgency. It begins with patience. Looking back now, I don't smile because of tradition or because it was a first night. I smile because it was gentle, because it taught me that trust grows when someone listens, because it showed me that kindness is more powerful than expectation. If I could speak to every young woman standing at the edge of that same unknown, I would say this: your comfort is important. Your voice matters. A beginning should never be built on fear. And if I could speak to every man stepping into that moment, I would say, lead with care, move with patience, let trust come before anything else. Because real love does not start with touch. It starts with respect. If this story reached your heart, share it with someone who may need to hear it. Sometimes, a simple reminder about kindness can change the way a story begins.